Hello and welcome to your spoiler warning for Her Story, brought to you by Original Soundchat, Anonymous Dinosaur, and Rhymes with Asia. My name is Peter Spasia, and on episode 90 of Original Soundchat, I brought Her Story to the table to discuss the game, the music from it, and just overall the impact of it. But we did not talk about spoilers from the game. Joe?
I mean, it's only 5 years old, so I think we both sort of considered it like, it's 5 years old and it's 2 hours long, and you should play it. And if you haven't played it, first of all, turn this off.
Mm-hmm.
And second of all, you should go give it a shot. 100%.
Absolutely. So this is kind of a side piece, if you will, to that episode of Original Soundchat. And so here it is on your bonus tracks part of the feed for the Original Soundchat podcast. So yeah, these can be super short. These can be super long. Depends on how much we have to gush and gab about the spoilery bits of games, whether they're coming up on Original Soundchat or we dive into the podcast's past. But I think it's a good way to start these spoiler warnings by how does Wikipedia detail the plot of these games? So through this should get all of the big plot points out of the way, and then we can kind of dive in from there. So the plot of Her Story. The interview tapes feature a woman who introduces herself as Hannah Smith, whose husband, Simon, has gone missing and is later found murdered. Hannah admits that she and Simon had a difficult relationship, but has an alibi placing her in Glasgow at the time after an argument. As more pieces of the interviews are discovered, it is claimed that Hannah is actually two women, Hannah and Eve, identical twins separated at birth by the midwife, Florence. Florence was the widow of a war veteran who desperately wanted to have kids but did not believe in remarrying, so she faked the death of one of the twins to claim one for herself. Florence deliberately keeps Eve indoors as much as possible, much to the latter's frustration. The twins were unaware of each other's existence until years later, at which point they decided to act as a single person, keeping a common diary and a set of rules defining their actions as Hannah. When Eve wanted to conduct independent activities, she would wear a blonde wig. Hannah eventually began dating Simon, whom she met at a glacier where they both work. Despite their rules, Hannah sleeps with Simon and becomes pregnant, which upsets Eve, who makes an effort to get pregnant but is unable to do so. Hannah miscarries in the 8th month, much to Eve's relief. Years later, Simon meets Eve in a bar. The two begin an affair, and Eve becomes pregnant. By this time, Hannah is infertile. On their birthday, Simon gives a handmade mirror to Hannah. But they have an argument, and Hannah reveals that she has a sister who is pregnant. Simon realizes he is the father. On the following day, Hannah has an argument with Eve over the matter, and the latter flees to Glasgow. Hannah, wearing Eve's wig, confronts Simon. Unaware that she is Hannah, Simon gifts her another mirror, stating his desire to be with Eve instead of Hannah. Hannah becomes furious, shattering the mirror and slicing Simon's throat with a piece of it, killing him, though this is said to be accidental. When Eve returns, the two agreed to hide Simon's body and use Eve's trip to Glasgow as an alibi. At the end of the interview, Eve says that Hannah is gone, asks to speak to a lawyer, and cryptically says that all these stories we've been telling each other, just that. Stories. It is not entirely clear if Eve's story of being an identical twin is true, an intentional fabrication meant to confuse the police, or a case of split personality. As the player uncovers enough of the story, a chat window appears asking if they are finished. Upon answering affirmatively, it is revealed that the player is Sarah, Eve's daughter. The chat asks Sarah if she understands her mother's actions and asks to meet her outside. So I think that's a pretty good summary of the game's events. Joe, yeah, the first big spoilery plot point is twins.
Yeah, and it's something that doesn't even cross your mind when you start playing the game, but then, like, going back to it, or going back to certain clips, I think the idea is you're supposed to notice that both of the sisters have slightly different mannerisms, and you can, once you know what you're looking for, you can tell the difference between the two, sorta.
And you can tell the 7 interviews apart, mostly based on like what clothes they're wearing, hairstyles, things like that. Obviously the big one is, the last interview with the white shirt, and like you're basically learning a lot of the truths on July 3rd, 1994 on that one. But yeah, you also notice inconsistencies like, oh, Hannah now has this big tattoo on her arm in this clip. Did she have the tattoo? Oh, well, it's covered up in a lot of the other interviews, but no, she's wearing a short sleeve shirt in this other one, and there's no tattoo there. Or there's another one where one of the women has, this notable bruise on her face, and she points to it and makes reference to it. And then in another clip, the woman points to like her other cheek, and it's like, oh yeah, I got a bruise there. And it's like, wait, that's an inconsistency there. So it's generally the idea that both Hannah and Eve have been presenting themselves to the police for interviews. Eve sometimes pretending to be Hannah, but actually is Eve. And yeah, once you discover twins, once you discover that the Trois Sisters song talking about sisters, it puts the idea of, are there two people that are, one's jealous of the other in your mind? And it kind of opens up new avenues of investigation.
In my opinion, I think it's the song, I think, really drives it home that Hannah's dead. I think Hannah is dead, personally.
Yep.
It never confirms, like you said, it does not confirm if Hannah ever existed at all.
Right.
But I think Hannah did exist, because the tattoo is kind of, you can't just get rid of a tattoo that fast.
And it makes me wonder, like, there are enough like clues to make you possibly think different avenues, right? Could there be like a temporary tattoo that was not on and then put on before? And is that a whole thing? It's hard to say. Yeah, it does make you wonder. But yeah, I think when you say Hannah is gone and this is Eve divulging the supposed truth at the end, yeah, and then you take that song into account, I would agree with you that Hannah is probably dead.
Yeah, I think that song spells it out pretty well. I don't think that is I don't think there is an intended ending, like you said. It leaves it open-ended, and I think it does that on purpose, but that is where I take that personally. What a neat way to pick apart a plot. In the episode, you mentioned Ace Attorney, and him referring to Ace Attorney as sort of rigid, and that makes sense that this is an attempt at what if Ace Attorney was like super open-ended.
Yeah.
And it's very neat.
It does make you feel good about yourself. Very smart. Though it's, all kudos to Sam Barlow's development, where like in the clips, like he's placing these little nuggets of like, names that you can follow up on, or different themes. Like once you get to the idea of the mirror and like the reflection, like when you stumble across the clip where it's Eve talking about seeing her reflection and there was this connection and that they mirrored their actions, and to realize that there were twins that existed. Granted, again, could be metaphysical, could be split personality if you choose to take that interpretation, which when I was playing this again and, rediscovering the game, I was like I'm thinking like, I'm not going to leave that out of the question. Like you definitely think that could be possible. But yeah, when you come across things like that, it's really clever how it was written to make you think along certain lines and want to follow up on certain things. And we were following up on like the dollhouse, and then talks about like how Eve was living up there and, sneaking out, trying to play that double life there with the parents still living there. Oh, also weird things like how did Hannah's parents die? Or technically, I guess, Eve's parents as well. But when her father is like a mushroom expert and yet they died of mushroom ingesting, like, I don't know, Eve probably up to some shady murdery stuff too, which makes the thought of Hannah also being dead also a little more plausible.
I didn't remember that plot detail, actually. Like 100% didn't remember that one. Yeah, I think that about cements it for me. Hannah is dead for sure. Yeah, Hannah's dead. That's all there is to it.
I think it's a logical conclusion to come to, but I think it's really neat how like you come to the idea of, how Simon was murdered for sure. Like that's pretty clear cut if you choose to believe the truth that Eve is telling you. But yeah, how it ends, it's certainly interesting. And then the whole thing with you being Sarah is just a cool little thing that like, I feel like the first time I played, I didn't totally get it, but now like being more observant and like talking it out with someone else, a great game to play alongside someone else when you're both trying to piece it all together. However you play it, like definitely give her story a try. And it's just neat to be able to talk about these kind of things without worrying like you're going to spoil the experience for someone else, because it's such a great experience to have fresh.
I should do that with somebody at some point. Maybe this is like a good over Discord game, sort of talking through like that. That'd be interesting.
Yeah, I feel like it was one where when I was showing it to my girlfriend, I was going through and I was like, oh yes, Peter, you nailed it, because like this is one to show people like the versatility of games and like how just unique experiences are out there in the world of video games. Her story is definitely a very memorable one. So that will do it for this spoiler warning here on your original Soundchat bonus tracks list. Hope you enjoy. I mean, we are hoping to do this more in the future whenever it's games that we've both played and just need to gush about. And I'm sure there are games in our 90 plus episodes past that we're going to eventually go back to. But yeah, just wanted to give you some more content on your podcast feed, and hope you enjoy. Thanks for listening.